Hello. In a minute early, just checking to make sure everything's working. See what we got going for us today. It's 8/8 Lionsgate Day. But I will, what we're going to have today is we're going to have Stone of the Day. We're going to have two stones that I pulled out of my collection just because they were Lionsgate and I wanted to talk about them. I didn't have a dream. Hi, Ronnie. I didn't have a dream last night, but one of the people who's got one of my grids and my garden did have a vision. And when I read her in, I think it was January or February, to set up her grid, she set her grid for several months now, and she got the garden as soon as it came out. She has some interesting comments on living with the grid and living with the garden, and I'm going to share them with you. And then we have a couple questions that did show up in the community pages that I had missed before, and I'm going to pull those up. And then I have a Masters, Ascended Masters, Keepers of the Light. That to do. And then I'm going to pull a card from the flowers. So, hello, Ocean Garnet. So, good morning to you too. Thank you. Thank you for your little clappings. That's the only way I can hear you, is what you put on there. I was just talking about the two stones. I'm going to try to give us a couple minutes. If you have a question, guys, now would be the time to get it in. Yes, nobody else is in here asking. And I just was cruising through YouTube before I came on, and everybody decided to run their shows. There's several other lives running against me, so people are going to see a lot of this on repeat. But I already did my Lionsgate list. I got up this morning in time to go out, and I was walking in the green space behind me. When you come on the property I live in, we have a green space that goes down to a creek, and it's got big tall trees. It's really wonderful. And I walked along there, and I was there at 8:08, and I was talking to the trees that I talk to when I do my walk along there. I stop and touch their bark and talk to them about how grateful I am that they're here, and starting to get feeling very grounded. And then when I came back in, before I came back in, I sat in a park on a bench that we have out there and put my arms out and welcomed in the sunlight of 8/8 Lionsgate date. And then I came home and listened to a couple of Lionsgate presentations, little 15 minutes things, just hear how other people take what's going on with today, because with it being Lionsgate and the new moon, that's incredible. Then I talked to a friend of mine who's recovering from cancer and the cancer treatments, and he's ex-military, and he and I talked, and he's very interested in the world and what I do, and we talked about a lot of different things. But he used to work at the DOD, and he's a graduate of one of the military academies. He worked at the DOD, and he was a spy. I mean, that's what he was. He watches disinformation that comes in from other countries. That's what he worked on when he was over there. We had a long talk today about what's going on in the country and about disinformation, and about people he met at the DOD that also worked with remote viewing and that aspect of kind of the world that I'll tell you, I think every reader is a remote viewer, whether they want to be or not, because we're seeing something that's out of space and time. And it's important that we acknowledge that. So, nobody has any questions, so we're going to start with our start for the day the way we normally do, because it's 3 or 4 minutes into this. And I got a card that we'd gotten before. Cooperite. And Cooperite supports exploring the shadow self and healing deep issues. When I pulled it up, I went, of course we got that on Lionsgate, because that's what our list is supposed to be about. How do we free ourselves from those things? Okay, Ronnie, you want a message from your dad? I will talk about Cooperite in a minute. But I do have the... Where are they? Ah, let me turn and get my message from the other side. Oops. I occasionally clean off my desk, and as soon as I clean something up, that's the deck everybody wants. So let's see about a message from your dad. Put these up here. I feel healthy and happy. And I'm going to pull one more card because I think, and what do you feel about your daughter? My mind is free. Did your dad have some sort of dementia, or was he cut off because of painkillers? Because I got a feeling that whatever he was in a limbo state, and he knows it's important for you to know that how he feels now. I feel the vibration off I feel healthy and happy is I can do now the most amazing things I never dreamed were possible. It feels like I'm doing them in a physical body, except lighter, freer, and more flexible. So I can do acrobatics if I want to. I can fly. I can jump as high as a mountain. I can move instantly between locations. It's magical here. The main thing that I want to emphasize to you, though, all the aches and pains and suffering went away with my physical body. I can breathe, see, walk like a healthy young person now. All the limitations of the physical body are gone. I'm enjoying my spiritual body. Also, I see how I could have taken much better care of myself physically and enjoyed better health. I hope you will take this to heart. After all, we only get one physical body per lifetime. Make it last a lifetime if we take care of it. I'm getting a feeling like a stroke or something like that for him before he passed. Something that seriously limited his body. And now this is his statement to you. I know how much I worried when I was in my physical existence. It seems like I spent most of my days and nights feeling anxious about the future, the family, money, and the earth. Now I realize most of what I worried about was never reality. All those things materialized and I brought on myself because of my own negativity. If I could only go back into my body for 5 minutes, I would apply this new knowledge to show you how to be worry-free. This is his card for you. And how to create a worry-free mind and attract a worry-free life. This knowledge has completely released me from the bondage of earthly concerns. That's my greatest lesson, and the one I hope I can impart to you. Give all your worries to heaven and never hang on to them. Be free of worries, and you'll find your greatest wishes. And today, that's one of the themes about going through Lionsgate, is that it's to let go of the limitations. That's what my whole list ended up being, although I didn't intend for it to start to be. That's what my whole list ended up being, was letting go of limitations. And so I think your dad's message is right on the mark. I think probably for you it is. I don't know if I'm right about what I was seeing at the end of his life, but he was living a pretty limited life, and he's free now. And he's around you and sending you the message that if you have any of the bad habits or any of the illnesses that he had, from diet or how you live your life or whatever you do, and mostly I think what he's saying is he worried himself into an extremely difficult position. So I'm going to put those there. Back to Stone of the Day. Okay, we're gonna finish stone of the day, Sylvia, and then I will look at what your mother and your aunt want to say to you. I'm gonna mark you. Okay. Cooper Light supports and holds you as you enter into the void, and the void means things, an area where you're not sure what the change is going to be. You're just willing to go there. It supports you to feel like you belong here on earth, accomplishing what you need to. It provides access to the ancient knowledge of the feminine, which is how to bring things through without having to be aggressive. So, and it's a form of hematite, and it's a beautiful red sort of stone. Now, the other stones I have, well, I'll do those when I get to Lionsgate. We're going to move these poor little babies. They're never going to get their story told today, are they? Yeah, they are. We've got, okay. Sylvia Hanks wants to know, would my aunt or mother, I'm going to pick one card for your mom and one for your aunt. The first card I'm going to pick is for your aunt because that's the one you wrote first. Your aunt says, as a soul, I can be in several places at once. So I think you sense your aunt might be around you, being a guide or a helper for you. And your mother says, we are connected. And that's a beautiful graphic. You see, it's bubbles inside of bubbles inside of bubbles. So, how do we read that? Your aunt's message to you is, as a soul, I can be in several places at once. Without the human body, I am free. I have amazing new abilities. I can travel to any place, almost any dimension, with just a thought. It's like living in one flying dream. It's like living in one of those flying dreams that you and I discussed. I don't know if you discussed that with her, but that's what it feels. That's what the vibration we get from this card. It's living in one of those, so I can be with you as often as you need me, and it won't hold me back from my spiritual growth. So don't feel like if you call on her, you're limiting her. If you miss my presence, just say the word, and I'll be at your side instantly. Although I'm not technically an angel, because I still have human ego and have a lot more to learn about all that, I will do my best to protect you, and you can count upon my continuing love. And then your mom's also really connected to you. Hers is, we are so connected. And I've been able to review my life here in heaven, and I've seen how perfectly everything we do is woven together. There are no accidents, no wrong turns. Everything makes sense now. I wanted to give you an exciting news in my life review. I saw that you and I have a strong soul connection through many lifetimes. We've been in each other's teachers, sometimes unpleasant ways, several times. In this lifetime, we were magnetically drawn together because we had mutual work to do, for ourselves personally and for others. And now that I'm here, my connection still remains strong. Just like when I was in a living body, our thoughts are in sync with one another. We often think about each other simultaneously. So think of me, and I will be doing the same things for you, always in love. So that's your aunt. She's kind of the unicorn in your life. And that's your mom, that you're always connected. And I hope that makes sense to you. Those are lovely messages. Okay, so I'm going to try putting this deck away again. I hope that those are great messages for you, Sylvia. And I think they were both supportive in their own way. I think they're two very different women, though. I mean, everybody's a different person, but I mean, even for sisters, or if they were not sisters, being related to you. Okay, so today's Lionsgate Day, and I wasn't sure what I was going to talk about because I didn't have a dream last night. But when I woke up this morning, I woke up to this email, and it was from a woman who's bought a grid for me and a garden for me, and I've actually talked to her about things that have been going on around her in the garden. But this is what she put in writing. And I'm going to explain to you, English is not her first language. So understand. It says, this is the first time I do something like this. I feel it's so nice at some point that I've just started smiling. Last night, I had a dream. I was at the front door, and I opened it up and step out and found myself walking down a country road. After 2 or 3 steps, I saw 2 huge male lions resting on the left side of the road. One of them starts walking far from me, but the other one starts walking towards me, and I go, OMG, I gotta hide, but there was no place to hide. Suddenly, I was back in my room again. I closed the door, and then the lion opens the door, and he looks at me, and he let me know, hey, it's okay to stop hiding from him. And then I returned to the country road with the lion beside me. She said, my question is, do I have a lion as a spirit guide? If that's the case, what's the meaning of a lion as a spirit guide? By the way, the lion is huge and beautiful and so calm. I only talk about my new experiences in the garden. I've started to meditate and be able to communicate with my spirit guides, but that night it was a wonderful dream. And then she said, the next day, after the dream, I took the garden and put it out on the dining room table, and I move it to my right and turn on the fan, and when I turn back around the garden again, that's when things really started getting weird. I saw waves in the center of the garden, and it was turning to be kind of translucent there, like it was a point, and I asked, what is this? And the answer I received is this grid can become a universal grid. And I was told to follow these directions. And these will be in my notes when I do it. Connect the stones in the same way you use to fire up a grid. And that's like you touch here, then to here, then to here, then to here. And then you go out round and until you've connected all their energies. That's what she's talking about. The stone that represents spirit, the amethyst, always goes in the middle. That's what she's channeled in. The other stones go in the corners for the squares, and those 4 stones stand for each. This is grounding, this is body, this is clarity, and this is mind. And they represent the different chakras that they come from. The other 4 stones are placed out on the edge for earth, air, water, and fire, because this turns the garden into a universal grid, and the stones all need to be connected the same way, and I showed you kind of how to do that. For people who are able to connect to the garden, they need to work from their heart. The heart is the individual center of love, compassion, empathy, and forgiveness. It's important to let people know that. Working with the heart chakra is a priority. I also see the garden in outer space like a constellation, and it's beautiful. She said, I hope I'm able to communicate this clearly. You've done a really good job. It's very clear. I'm able to communicate clearly because English is my second language. And she said, just let me know. So I contacted her and I asked her if I could share what she wrote, and she said yes. And this is the lady that told me north is north, and she says in here, you need to put north, this north is, however north is directionally, north happens to be towards me where I live. So because she feels like this is meant to be placed on the earth as a living, breathing grid. And if you don't, you guys were here, if you were yesterday, hi. If you were here yesterday, you saw me build a grid, and you saw kind of how it's put together. She's saying that if you don't have a grid that I built for you, you can build your own grid on here. And I just think that's a wonderful dream experience, and I cannot tell you, to wake up on Lionsgate Day and find out that she's being pulled forward by lions. I know when I read her to do her grid, I kept telling her she was really opening up energetically, and she was like, oh no, that's what other people do, but that's not true. We all can do it, everyone can do it, and she's right about it. You have to speak from your heart first, and that will help you move forward. It's absolutely just a marvelous compliment. She's right. Those of us who those of us who want to care and want to move forward in the earth, now this is such a transition day. I can feel it. I feel it in all of my body that it's time to move forward. Yes, it's super, super interesting because I got in touch with Lionsgate about 4 years ago before I even knew about YouTube. And yes, that's an amazing letter. Trust me, that letter is going in my book. By the way, her spirit animal is the lion because I looked at that, and that fits her. It's a fierce, protective creature that can walk calmly and control its anger, and it only moves when it needs to. And it's a wonderful, wonderful energy that's around lion. My spirit animal happens to be a raven, which is, you can have all kinds of different animals, but your spirit animals, if you're interested in spirit animals, I'm probably going to do a little bit more. I didn't have time to do much research on it this morning, but there's all sorts of different ways to figure out what your spirit animal is, but I think the best way is through a dream. And I actually had a reading by Trudy Lee, and she always opens her reading when she tapes them for you with, I see something, and she saw a bunch of, she said they look like great big crows. Well, those are ravens, and that is my spirit animal, and that comes from my past life of being in Celtic mythology, because the raven has a really peculiar place of being able to see and fly and speak, and also being very tied to Odin. And I do hope, and I hope each one of you will take your garden, you will plant yourself and your heart in it, and you will make your garden your own. That's why I'm working really hard right now to get all these spaces a little more than just keywords, because some people just can't work with keywords. But I loved her visualization about going out, and I thought about it, and I can't figure out which space in the garden she was in unless she was in the heart. And that may be what I use as an explanation for the heart. So ways to find your spirit animal: the best things from dreams, or just doing a meditation and saying, who's my spirit animal. There's also some kind of sort of tricks and quizzes. There's also some spirit animals that certain cultures have tied to certain months or certain seasons. There's a lot of spirit animals from the indigenous peoples in the U.S. They're shamanistic things that you can look at. And I'm going to look at all those different ways to find your spirit animals, maybe help you out with that. I've had, and this is how she thinks the stone should be set for the reading, when I read her thing carefully. Clarity is in water, grounding's in earth, body is in fire, and air is the mind, and in the middle is your spirit. And that's how she suggests you lay it out. So I don't know if she meditates over it that way. I did this morning, and it said, yep, that's the right way to go with it. Okay, we're going to answer a couple questions now that came out of the community that were asked. And one of them was about clearing cards at readings. So I'm going to put the situation around what's happening with your cards when you have a reading, and then we'll discuss how to clear cards. Yes, if you put out what is my favorite animal, and actually that's one of the ways. One is to dream it, one is to meditate on it, and the other is if you just have an animal you strongly, strongly relate to. I have a friend who I know, her spirit animal is a cat. But anyway, I'm going to, situation around clearing your cards. Okay. Yes. What happens if you don't clear your cards often enough is it blocks your spirit in the future from being able to move on. It's just a way to clear all the energy that builds up there. As you know, when you go around these chakras, this is where the energy ends in the tree of life. In your brain, your path forward is to use your mental energies, but they can also be misled by false things you hold on to. In this case, it's not your brain holding on to it, it's the cards. It's the energy in the cards. And the way to move forward is to ground yourself in your thoughts and to put your body in there. And so if this body is your deck of cards, couple different ways to clear a deck. You can, and you guys will see me do this when I shuffle cards. I don't use cards much, but when I shuffle cards, you'll see me. And that tap, tap empties out the energy from before. You can sage them. You can blow your own breath across them. I tend to not do that one much because my lungs are crappy and it tires them out. But you can, and when you're not using your cards, I tend to keep my cards in tarot bags like this. I have a silk one that I keep the deck I read most frequently from it. Anything like that that sort of shields other energy from getting in them. So that was one of the questions from the community page. Oh, Trudy Lee's Etsy shop. And Trudy Lee is a reader that you can find on YouTube. It's called Trudy's Treasures, and it's an Etsy shop. And the reason I brought her up before was she sells some really cool pendulums. She sells a whole lot of stuff that has nothing to do with our world. She sells things that do have to do with our world. And she was a good source for pendulums when I talked about that. And we're going to read about, Jennifer's wrote me about back pain. So the situation around Jennifer's back pain is, okay. Got one on a crux, girl. Okay. It's not coming from within inside your body. It's coming from your spirit your spirit's between solar plexus, heart, and letting go of old family stuff. So, your spirit says, power comes from the spirit to transform and transmute. When you get in touch with your spirit and your spirit gets aligned with your heart, spirit makes your heart come alive. When you get those two things balanced out, you'll be able to let go of the things from the past that hold you back. And you got body. This is why I think it's not really I don't think it's a physical thing. I think it's coming out of your head. Listen to your body signals, but they're not from your nervous system. What I hear is the way to get clear is to get grounded, get in your present. I think you're carrying the weight of a lot of things that happened before, and you're trying to figure out how to move forward, and you're not doing it all that well. So your values are being purified right now. So this means it's saying let go of this stuff. Today's Lionsgate. If you're watching Jennifer, today's a great date to write down that list of all those things you really, really want to get rid of. And you have your mind and your clarity are both in air. And for your mind, it says your thoughts and how you think about things is all important, and your clarity comes from be sure your thoughts are clear. So what I see here is your spirit's kind of tangled in a couple places. The pain's not really in your body. It's out of your mind. You need to pull your values into what you presently have. Quit dealing with things from the past, and you'll be fine. And because I have this wonderful book that was put together by a psychologist, and I love it, Top 50 Messages from Your Body, and about back problems. This kind of fits with, he's got 5: utter isolation, failure, freak out, don't see me being it, Skid Row Sid. I don't think any of those fit this. What fits it is will issues. They experience some conflicts in their will with others and within themselves. They are either dominating others or being overly dependent on others, both of which bring about a poor self-image and a sense of not deserving support. There's a conflict between their conscious mind, which was what was going on up here, and their unconscious feelings where they originate from. This usually has to do with conflicts between parental figures or parental stand-ins. So I think that's where your back pain's coming from. So I would look to solve that. Okay, sunshine. I'm presuming your husband is deceased, if you want me to bring you a message from him. Okay, since we're going to play with these cards today. And these cards, if you've never seen them, they're Talking to Heaven with James Van Praagh. And I know people who teach medium classes that have people work with these, so it helps them clarify the issues and the images they're seeing from the other side. Oh, you've been dreaming about him. It says, we have been together in dreams. We've been together in dreams. When you are dreaming, I can more easily connect with you. That's why you've seen me or felt my presence during your sleep. Sometimes you fully remember your dream connections. Other times, you just sense that we were together without the clear memory. These experiences are very real. Your soul is traveling while you dream, and I meet you in a vibrational plane. There we talk, share, and heal together. These dream connections make me happy as they do you. I'm so delighted to help you understand the meanings of those conversations. And so I'm going to see if he has a message he's trying to get through to you in the dreams. Oh, he wants to let you know that when he crossed, he was met by many loving people. I think you might have, was he a bit of an isolate or kind of an introvert? And so you were like, who's going to be over there for him when he crosses? But I want you to put your mind to rest. I did not die alone. None of us ever comes into the earthly world or enters into heaven alone. I was met by all our loving relatives, friends, even souls I didn't expect or even recognize from this life. I was greeted so beautifully by my magnificent angels, teachers, spirit guides, who gently escorted me into the colorful heavenly life. It's so splendid, so real. I cannot express to you the amount of love I have welcomed it with. It feels so natural to be loved. I think I forgot about that when I was living on earth. When I came here, it was a wonderful reunion. It is a place where you can see the best of everyone and show the best of yourself to everyone. So I think he was an introvert, and you were a little concerned that there wouldn't be anybody there with him, but they were there. Okay, let's see. Someone who works in a salon job. Let's see. I hope that helps you, Sunshine. Stephanie, any messages from the spirit around my salon job? I only go in 1 to 2 hours every other week, but I'm exhausted after a short time there. So let's see. What's the situation around her salon job? Stephanie D's salon job. You're kind of past it. You've got ideas of things you could do that would be fulfilling for you, and it's exhausting to walk into a situation that's not fulfilling. That's about that card. It's your solar plexus is it actually, literally, this stone here means burns out of self-doubt and you're blocking your own power. That's what I said, that you feel it's the grounding stone, but it's in the solar plexus, which is to spin out and come up with great new ideas. That's why you're so exhausted from being there. But the other things are, your path forward is to stay in touch with your body. Physical feelings, you feel in your gut what you ought to be doing next. But I think Spirit's telling you this, your time with this is done. I think you're connected to the salon job because of it helped you in the past, and you're kind of afraid to move on. But you're being told that there are many paths ahead of you. You just, part of the reason you're exhausted is after you leave there, you're like, what can I do to get out of this? It's just eating your energy up. We're going to see mentally that your thoughts are all important. You need to go to a place where your thoughts and how you think, how you feel, how your energy vibrates is at a much higher level. And I think This is in the crown chakra for enlightenment. And if you would just spend a little more time meditating instead of worrying about, for some reason you've tied yourself to this job, if you'd open your mind up, you're going to find another way to move forward and get away. I'm going to do a one and done because I think there's something happening in that space. Yeah. There's someone in that space that's a power vampire, and they're eating everybody up. But in particular you, and yes, you're going to physically feel this, and your path forward is to physical feelings. You understand that's why it's draining all your energy. There's someone there that's just a power vampire, and they're not worth your time. And you have a really good, clear energy when you want to. I think you have to shut down you shut down like 2 days before you go there. It takes you 2 days afterwards to come up. That means 5 days a week. You're screwing around with a 1 to 2 hour job. I think it's maybe time to move on. I think it's time to move on. I think physically, it's time to move on, and I think you can find a place to move on. I'm going to pull one card out of a more traditional tarot deck to tell you. The thing I don't do much. I mean, actually, I do it all the time. Oh my darn. Okay. I'm going to pull one card about you and getting out of there. It's probably going to say just what the board said. Okay. Your problem is it's too safe to hide out there. You need to quit doing that. You need to quit feeling like you can retreat from it. You need to go out and find a way to get active. You need to take this card and turn it around. When he's like this is a Four of Swords, and this is someone who's been battered and bruised by life and been through some battles, and he's retreated to a place behind his swords, put his weapons down in essence. You need to do this to move forward. It's you. The owner I don't think is doing you any favor. I don't know who in there is the vampire, but somebody there just sucks the living energy out of everyone. Okay. What does my daughter have to say to me? You got the same thing as we got earlier, so I don't have to read from the book. We are so connected. She still feels very connected to you, and she probably comes around towards you and enters into your life, and she just wants to let you know it's beautiful where she is, and it's calm and it's serene. And I think when she was dying, that was not what was going on. Calm serenity was not high on her list. So I think she's still connected to you. If you talk to her, she'll be glad to speak with you, but understand she's in a beautiful place. Okay, somebody wants to know about her husband's back pain. Okay, let's see about husband's back pain. Okay, let's see. I'll read the stones, and then I'll figure out which one of the 5 types of back pain he's most tied to. Oh, you've got 2 stones that are in the past. Let's say it's from the past. His body is telling him to move forward. His mind is still tied to the past somehow, but it's really getting ready to move forward. And his grounding, his spirit, as far as grounding goes, which is air. That's moving forward. We're going to start with values. He needs to work more with his mind and less with his body. His body's really telling him that that's physical feelings that he's having are taking him to the next level within himself spiritually. But his mind is trapped between, he's tied to a lot of false energy from the past. So he's kind of afraid. Final thoughts. He's going to have a change of heart, but he needs to start working on some messages he's getting from the past about you're not good enough. But I'm going to read you what that would be in here. Okay, I don't see me being it. These people tend to dump their unacceptable qualities, feelings, functionings, and deeds behind them so they can't see them. But that's just stuck in the past. But they can't see them, but they still experience them as back pain. It comes from growing up in a denial-dominated, dysfunctional family. If you grew up in the 50s, that's pretty much everybody I knew. And I think the other part that may be with him with some of what I see here is he's really afraid of losing on a both personal and pragmatic level because he was told all too often that he came from this denial family, but in that family I also think there were very much competitiveness between siblings, or between, they were always comparing him to the kid next door or his cousin or somebody, and he has to let that go. And the only way I can think to tell him to do that is to really become aware of what his unconscious thoughts are, and when the bad thoughts show up that say you're not good enough, you can't do that, say thank you for sharing, and then go on and be good enough and do that. Okay, Alicia, would the garden be a good tool? From what I hear, yes, a garden can help you focus on your clairs, because I know that the lady who wrote that lovely letter, she's opening up like crazy, but she's accepting now what she hears and sort of some of the stuff she sees. So when you roll things in the garden, you read the keyword, but then you figure out how do you sense it, how do you relate to it. Okay, life is good. So yeah, you could use a garden for that. It will work for that. And when I teach my course on the garden in August, when I have all this, late August, early September, when I have all this information put together, we'll go over using the garden all those different ways. Mom and older brother. Pull one card for mom and one for older brother. It's okay, Karen, if you go back to the beginning, you find out, well, here I got a letter from someone who's just had some magnificent things happen to her around the garden, and she found her spirit animal. And now I'm going to look at Mom. My mind is free, and tears cleanse the souls. Okay. I think your mom was another person who was kind of slipping in and out of it at the very end. She wants to let you know her mind is free, that she's very capable, and her mind is now free to come visit you whenever you want to see her. I don't know what the deal was between you and your brother, but there may have been a lot of unresolved issues when he died. Tears will cleanse the soul. If you will let go of that and cry it out, then you'll be free of that energy. I'm going to make sure. Tears cleanse the soul. When you cry, I am even closer to you, hugging and reassuring you. Sometimes you feel my presence, sometimes not. However, I want you to know how beautiful you are and how vulnerable, and your heart was always open with feelings of raw emotions. Tears are a way to wash away our soul's impurities, such as fear, worry. It's healthy. It's a healthy means of releasing painful feelings. I am very proud of you for allowing yourself to cry. I know it's difficult, and that you want this pain to end, and I promise it will. Just know that your heart heals faster if you allow the experiences to flow. Don't try to stay composed and hold back tears. Cry if you need to. People will understand. If they don't, then that says more about them than you, because God gave us the ability to shed tears to cleanse our soul. And your mom, like I said, I think in a nutshell, you know how much I worried when I was in my physical existence. It always seemed that I spent most of my nights anxious and afraid for the future. In reality, there was never, what I worried about was not reality. Many of these things did materialize because I brought them on myself. Don't allow yourself to attract negativity. But I think she also was locked away in herself before she died. Barbara, write me at my email, crystaldirections.nancyjean@gmail.com, and I'll see if I can get with admin and see if she can set it up again. Every time we open that up, we have to open up a whole new thing. Okay, let's see. If the situation around Lionsgate for Bernie, 44. Because her birthday's in 2 days. Everybody wish Bernie a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Bernie. Okay. Yeah, what's happening to you right now is you're blooming, you're blossoming, you're becoming more grounded, and what's important to you, you're going with your gut feelings, what you think is true for you. The problem is you're still having some trouble figuring out what's true, what's false. Not from your own perspective, but I think from what other people are saying to you. Vision is clouded at times, but your brain's getting better. It's your path forward, and you need to speak your truth. You have no choice because you have spirit in the throat chakra. Spirit shines through your self-expression. When you express yourself, you do the best. So I think it looks bright, and it looks like you're going through a shift and a change. This is what you need to do. You need to quit questioning your vision. Go with it. And good. I hope he does, because spiritual work will help release the past. Yeah. Okay, my brother was 14 when he passed away, and I was 5 when. Did you ask me about your brother? I think you did. Guys, I'm trying to run this and... okay. Yes, your brother has been a guardian angel over you. And... okay. Everybody's saying happy birthday to Vernie. Okay, let's see. Margelle and her situation around her retirement and finding a way to use her gifts. Okay, you need to get clear. Your spirit right now is I think you're considering several different ways to use your spirit and your vision. Yeah, your spirit's transforming right now. Whatever you're working with right now is the beginning to understand this. You've got clarification from dealing with your past, but most of your clarifications, mental actions are your way to abundance. So I think it's more of a clairsentient, using that part of your brain. But what's moving forward rapidly is you're letting go of limitations, which means trying everything. And then you've got your water for your body. You need work with the 4 elements: the earth, fire, water, air. Go read up on them, look at them. They'll help you clarify, because you're not sure where you want to go yet, but you're getting closer. You are much closer than you were before, and it's clarity. It's ideas you're planning right now that are going to bear fruit. And then we got, okay, message from your dad who died 5 years ago. Okay. What does Dad have to say for Vivian? Life is a series of choices. Choose love. And I think that's perfect for you. I know a little more about Vivian than some others because I've read her before. And I think you're learning how to do that. So we're going to read the clarification on that one. But I think pretty much the card says it all. Life is a series of choices. Choose love. Love is the true nature of your soul. By making the choice for love instead of fear, you're saying yes to God. I remember in life when I would let other people's opinions of me define who I was. I was never good enough to be accepted. That is because I was living in fear. But now I know how much more powerful love is, and by making the right choices, you will welcome abundance in every aspect of your life. I want nothing more than for you to be happy. So every choice you make, stay true to your nature and choose love. Fear separates, love unites. From over here, I will try to remind you always to attempt to see love in all that you do, the way you live happier and more fulfilling on earth. So I think he's saying don't follow the lesson that I kind of left you about being afraid. Move forward. And I think you are a very courageous lady, and I think you're going to do that. Happy Sunday, Terry. Yes. Yeah, Vernie sounds a lot like Bernie. Message from my grandmother. Did your grandma like animals? Because she's surrounded by them now. I'm surrounded by loving animals. You know that I'm an animal lover, so you'll rejoice to hear I'm surrounded by the beloved pets and many array of wonderful animal friends. Animals definitely have souls and feelings, and they make the best of their earthly and heavenly companions. They are even sweeter here than they were on earth. When I pass from the physical world, I am met by many of my loved ones, including my pets. I have since learned that the animals are the angels who accompany us in our physical lives, helping to keep our hearts open, and it's difficult to love other people. Oh, even when it's difficult to love other people as ourselves. And we're going to do one more for Granny, because that's such a pretty card. Oh, we've been together before in our dreams. I already read on that one. That means that she comes to you in her dreams. And I think she passed on her love of animals to you. I think that's a beautiful message from your grandmother. Be nice to know. I never knew my grandmothers. Well, one I kind of knew, and I didn't want to get any closer, but I never knew them well enough to be able to. If I got a card from there, I would have absolutely no idea whether it was real or not. Okay, Helen says, I feel like I'm in a holding pattern. When I make plans to move forward, I keep getting a block like it's not time yet. That may be true, but this is the day to write your intentions list, to let go. This is the day to get rid of anything you feel that's limiting you. This is the day to do that. This is Lionsgate. You get to walk through Lionsgate. Probably one of the best, yeah. Kim Copeland, Medium Kim, and she's on here. Kim Copeland did a wonderful show yesterday. Go to her channel, Medium Kim, Kim Copeland, and she drew a beautiful drawing talking about leaving the anchors behind and sailing forth with your new great intentions. Thank you, it's Jean. Thank you, thank you. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Lionsgate right now. I pulled 2 stones for Lionsgate. I pulled this one, which I think you guys have seen before. That's a chrysanthemum stone. And that white mineral runs all the way through the stone. If you sliced it, you just see smaller and smaller and smaller flowers. But they're a wonderful stone because this stone is a sign of harmony, admitting calm, confident energy, which encourages you to slow down, center, enjoy the moment, lending you the time to need so you can bloom. It allows one to connect with joy, creation, expression, manifestation, and abundance, all of which are energies you should be holding on to when you're writing your manifestation, your intentions list. The other stone is just one of my favorite, Bumblebee Jasper. And this is my favorite piece of Bumblebee Jasper. It's my heart. And this one relates to the solar plexus and the sacral chakra, which are where the ideas come from and how we spin them out and make them vital in our lives. Bumblebee is a highly restorative to the system. It elevates your moods, increases your vitality, boosting one's confidence and self-esteem. Used with good intent, it's a remarkable stone to increase wealth and abundance, assisting the impossible to manifest. It is an excellent ally when decisiveness, precision, and persuasiveness are needed. So today, when you're writing your list, I started out with, I could have written 73 pages, and I kind of focused down on the statement about letting go of limitations. And as soon as I did that, I started to see some really clear paths, some things that are actions I take that limit myself. And I put those, I want Lionsgate to purge this away from me, and I want to move forward with a different frame of mind. And so, like I said, please go look at Medium Kim's thing because it's just wonderful. Her explanation of what she saw when she did a deep dive and did a vision. Lionsgate, yeah, there's books and there's people who've been doing it for 100 years, and I saw about it 4 years ago. It fascinated me and it seemed to work. But the way to open Lionsgate, the way to go walk through that portal, only you can walk through that portal. I can tell you all day how to write a list. I can tell you about my lovely friend who found her spirit animal was a lion and now can walk peacefully down the road with that lion and is gaining strength every day from doing that. None of that does any good unless you take the action, and it doesn't mean physically go out and punch a hole somewhere and make a portal. The portal's there. In my instructions for my garden, Meister Eckhart, it's on the last page of the instructions. It said, and when the soul wanted to do something, she envisioned it and walked into it. So that's what we're asking you to do. Envision it in words, or real writing, or real holding on to a stone and committing to one of these crystals or whatever you have in your life, saying it to your garden, whatever you want to do. But put that image forward of what you want to do and then just let your soul walk right into it. And I think that's a beautiful image because we all struggle a lot more than we need to get ahead, to move forward. And even if it's just move sideways to get out of the way. Yes, you can write more than one list. You could have a whole book full. But yes, and you can actually, sometimes people will say, body, mind, and spirit. What do I need to do to move my body forward? What do I need to move my mind forward? What will move me spiritually? You'll see a lot of interconnections with them, but sometimes they're totally different. Yes, there are no accidents. And I'm going to tell you, when I've done a reading for someone, if you've had the same sort of questions in your mind, the universe does a funny thing. It'll give everybody at the table, and you're all at this table, everybody at this table will get an answer. And some will fit you to a T. If they do, run with it. Some of them will be, it'll just set your mind to thinking, and it'll help clarify something for you. But there's no accidents in the universe. You're all here because you need to hear whatever the messages are today. And if you missed, Cancerians do tend to move like a crab and move sideways. But if you missed the letter at the beginning, please go back and watch my first 5 to 6 minutes of the show, where I read a letter that I received from someone today about, well, hell, if you missed it, you're not going to know. This lady wrote me this, and she's had a grid, and she's using the garden right now. And I want this to be, I'm just going to read the first part of it. This is the first time that she's done something like this, and it just keeps her smiling. At night she had a dream. She went to her front door. I opened it, and I step out and find myself walking down a country lane. And on this country lane, there are 2 lions sitting on to the left side. One gets up and walks away from me. The other one comes towards me, and I think, oh my God, I need to hide from it. But that wasn't working at all. But then suddenly I was back in my room. So I closed the door, only to have the lion push the door open and look at me and say, hey, it's okay to stop hiding. And now I must return to the country road, and I'm walking with the lion beside me. And her question was, is the lion her spirit guide? I'm going to do some things on spirit guides. But yes, definitely, if you had a dream that vivid, that's your spirit guide. And I sent her 2 things I found on Google about what a lion's spirit guide means. And she said, this lion is huge, beautiful, and calm. And she said now she wants to talk about her new experiences in the garden. She started meditating to communicate with her spirit guides. And when she got into it, she looked at it the next day after that dream and took out the garden, put it on the dining room table, and move it. And she moved over to turn a fan on. She lives in a very warm climate. She moved on to turn a fan on. And when she turned around, the garden was changing. The middle of the garden was rippling up. It was changing in color. It was almost floating, making moves like tiny waves from the center and going out and spreading out to the points. And I asked, why are you doing that? And the answer was received from the grid. You are going to turn this grid into a universal grid. And then she talks about ways to connect the stones and everything, and that north needs to be north because no matter where you are on the planet, north, south, east, and west are the same points. So that unifies all the gardens into having the same polarity. And then she also said that the garden, to work with the garden, she needs to work from her heart. The heart is the individual center for love, compassion, empathy, and forgiveness. It's important to let the people know that. Working with the heart chakra is a priority. She also has had a vision of the garden floating in outer space like a constellation. It's most beautiful when it's there. And she's a wonderful lady. I'm so grateful. I can't tell you, for me to open up on Lionsgate Morning this vision that this woman had with my garden and have lions in it, I know this is real. So I'm about to say goodbye to everybody. I want you to be blessed. I did pick one last card for us, and I picked it out of the Keepers of the Light. And today we got Commander Ashtar. Commander Ashtar is a call to action. Take charge, lead by example, walk your walk. I think he's perfect for going through the Lionsgate. Ashtar is known as Commander Ashtar. He's a multidimensional being that promotes truth and peace and harmony between the planets. He is said to be an extraterrestrial. I imagine he probably is, but it appears in a human form so he can communicate with us on a heart level. If you're receiving the call to action, you are being asked to step up and create changes you want to see in the world. That's changes within yourself. You can have a list how I need to change, how the world needs to change. And divine inspiration is all around you, and Ashtar and his legion of cosmic angels are standing by to offer loving support. Know that you are being encouraged to be honest, assertive, and true in a loving way. You may feel your ego is trying to hold you back, but know that when you take the first step, the next one will soon follow. Take some time to connect with the universe today, which is what we're asking you to do on Lionsgate. by looking up at the stars. I went out and looked up at the sun. I took a sun bath at 8:08 this morning. Knowing that the beings bring light and gazing down on you. You are not alone. And you're not alone in working Lionsgate, and you're not alone in being here. Peace and love to everyone. And just have a wonderful day. And I hope, for those of you who needed to hear from your departed loved ones, that you got some peace and understanding from that. Because I know they're just to the other side. I know that. But it's hard when we're separated to see it that way. Take the energy of the Bumblebee Jasper to get your ideas flowing, get your solar plexus going, and have joy and harmony.